So first of all, I'm sorry I'm not like dressed up. I had a suit on.
He's not sorry. We talked about this already. This is our business casual. This is how we look when we are doing business. And y'all need to rewrite that as entrepreneurs too. This is how we look, AJ.
Well, no, I'm still a nice guy. I want to
I got your back, homie.
So I went to Armstrong High School. That's not entirely true. I went to Franklin Military when it was inside of Armstrong High School, and I played sports there. And I thought I was going to the NBA, and so much that my mother bought me like a "Believe in Yourself, All Dreams Are Possible" poster, and this little kid like sitting on the ball, just like looking up, dreaming, and I quickly knew that was going to happen. Once I got to college, I ended up focusing on my strength. I was like your sister. I was really good at math, and so I made myself an accounting major. I went through school. I actually I transferred out of Virginia State and then dropped out of VCU just for financial reasons. I actually never went back. I actually don't have a degree at all. Sometimes I address that at the end, but I'll just address that now. A big part of the way I live my life is just doing what I want to do. I really feel like I can do whatever I want to. Now, I never really thought about being just some sort of having this inspiration that you won't need your degree or they're not as important. But I really feel like I have to be like a role model to kids who can't go to school, don't want to go to school, don't think it's for them, because you can do whatever you want to do. I just want to keep it simple and just end with that. I just didn't desire to go back to school. My grandma doesn't like to hear that, but I just knew I could do whatever I wanted to do. Anyway, so I dropped out for financial reasons. I was in the financial services business. I was an intern at Scottrade for 3 years. And then once I dropped out of school, I needed to start making a living. So I was in sort of a junior broker role. I discovered very quickly that I had a passion for helping people make better decisions with their money. And value, you guys just don't know. The information that you have is so valuable when it comes to money. I just don't ever feel like I'll ever be broke. I have so much wisdom from that industry. If you ever have the ability to work with a financial planner, work with them. There are people who work with you that don't have minimums to work with. The information is so valuable. Anyway, so I liked it, and I really like helping people and people who were retiring and had no real plan. I could put together a plan for them to live comfortably for 30 years. That was something that really made me happy. So I ended up in DC working for Rick Edelman, and Rick Edelman is he's an author and he's a pretty popular financial planner, and Barron's is a magazine, that one of the more popular financial magazines that come out with rankings. It was the #1 ranked firm in the country for 4 years, and I just was working in a call center actually after I left Scottrade, and bumped into an interview and got it, and started making really good money up there. Now, I was 26 years old when I realized that I didn't want to do that forever. Now, I don't want to go into why that was because it's going to take too much time, but I discovered at 26 that that's just not what I wanted to do. And that conversation was started with me walking into the CEO's and the president's office, just asking for a conversation and realizing what it took to do that and what it took out of my life and my potential family's life and the future that I saw with it. I didn't think that it was sustainable. So at that point, in my mind, I kept going physically. I kept getting all my licenses and my stockbroker exams, and I just had so many stupid meaning letters behind my name. It didn't make any sense. I kept going, but I knew that I didn't want it anymore. So, long story short, once you put stuff into the air, things begin to happen. So I worked there for 2 more years. I ended up being a financial advisor there, which was unbelievable on my resume, and got a job to come back to Richmond, and that's where I was making, it was just stupid. Some of these businesses is 100% commission. I came in the door and my base was $70,000. In order to stay off of the manager's, list or whatever, you had to make like 120. So people were making like 300 grand, 400 grand. It was crazy. I'll tell you how I ended up quitting and then like, sitting in front of you. About 2 months after I started working, a friend of mine named Elsie Baker comes into my apartment. Now, the 30-second story about Elle is Elsie and I didn't get along in high school. His girlfriend was my best friend. You know how that dynamic might work. And coincidentally, we didn't talk for like 7 or 8 years. I found out through an AAU coach that he moved up to DC the same week that I moved up to DC, had the same start date that I had. We ended up becoming friends after that, and then we stayed in contact for about a year or so. After that year, we both got jobs in Richmond, unbeknownst to either one of us, with the same start date. And then we moved into an apartment building, unbeknownst to each other, right next door to each other. Like, that's the truth, right? This is Elle, this is so crazy. And this kid, about 2 months after I started working, he tells me like, yo, we should open up a coffee shop. Now, Elle's like really popular. He's got a very charismatic personality. He's got, thousands of friends on social media. And his last name is Baker, and my last name is Brewer. And he said, yo, we should open up a coffee shop and call it the Bakers and the Brewers. Now, I just thought that was genius. Like, I still get the chills off of that, man. It's unbelievable. I wasn't gonna give up that job because in my mind, the way I was thinking was, I'm not gonna let this check go, But man, you can't do both, and that's just, hopefully you can type on that because I don't want to keep my conversations a little shorter. But you really can't do both, or you shouldn't do both. He gave me that valuable piece of information. I never talked about it again for an entire year. I ended up quitting my job, literally, to be quite honest with you, because I just didn't want to go anymore. Like, I just was tired of the manager. I was tired of what she was telling me. The expectation that the job and the world had for me, I just had no desire to like fit into their mold anymore. It's not, God, like I'm trying not to be too passionate up here. Like, you really can do whatever you want to. I did not desire that. People were proud of me because I was a financial advisor from the city and I was an example for folks and I wore suits and I looked the part. But I'm gonna be honest with you, man, like you have to stop living up to other people's expectation of yourself, because no matter what you do, people are killing themselves because they're unhappy. Robin Williams killed himself because he's unhappy. Like, I don't care what you think other people think of what you do, you should leave it alone if it's not your 100% all in it. If your passion is not around it, you should leave it alone, because resentment will build and one day you will not be happy, and then there will be more drastic decisions. I can't thank God enough for me like discovering that it out of my life at 26 years old. I didn't have to wait so long. So he gave me that idea. I ended up quitting my job a year later, and the funny story is I didn't have any plan. Like, you're absolutely right. You should have a plan. I just was, at that time, I was over it. And so the weird part of that story is if I would have stayed 2.5 more weeks, I would have gotten a $30,000 bonus. But I didn't. I was just like, when she said, "Are you sure?" I was just like, "Yeah, man. Like, I just can't do it anymore." It was the time where I knew it was over. My son was 3 months old when I quit. When I quit, he was 2.5 months old. Now, the right advice from my family and friends is, "What are you doing? That's crazy," right? Like, I don't disagree with that, but I knew that I had to do more for him. For me, like being homeless, being happy was better than doing what I was doing. Like, that's where I was with it. I would have taken my son anywhere. The fact that I had this ball of energy to power me up, to like keep me motivated, was just like, it was everything. This kid, man, is so magical, man. You guys should meet Parker. Anyway, let me skip forward to the end of the story. So like, when I quit, Parker was 3 months old. I didn't have a plan. I actually was interviewing for jobs at brokerage firms in other states. I went on to be a comedian. I did the funny bone a couple times. Got booed off the stage. I got booed off the stage once. Ask J-Ski, you know J-Ski?
Yeah,
He got me that. He motivated me to get on stage. The loving story, the part that your brother played, I auditioned for that. And I hit LC up. I was like, yo, what about this coffee shop idea? Let's just try it. Who knows? I didn't even drink coffee. On everything I love, I never had a cup of coffee before this. I may have taken a couple of sips, maybe, but I never had a cup of coffee. And so I tried everything. And the reality is the bank called me back with an approval before a job called me back or anything else picked up. And the rest is just like sheer hard work. Like, I still work every day. I don't think I've taken one day off in the past 2 years. As a matter of fact, I opened and closed the shop every day of the year for 18 straight months. This morning, I actually woke up at 6 o'clock, went to Restaurant Depot. My car broke down. I had to get my car towed. I was in the middle of the street in 95. I had to get my car towed this morning, which is kind of why I'm in this, this predicament, the jeans, even though I really want to be in the jeans and jeans. And I also, from there, I went to the coffee shop, worked for an hour and a half, and then got here, right, with the help of my unbelievable support system. But I really want to end on this, like, my son is not here, and that just like is eating me up, right? It's unbelievable. Like the why, Cam Cooper came and asked me, why do you do what you do yesterday? And there's a number of reasons why, but if I can think of the most singular, powerful thing for me, right? Everybody's different. Is Parker Lee Brewer. Like this kid, can I be objective about myself with being, I'm gonna step outside of myself. People think that I am amazing, right? But my son, this kid is gonna be influenced by what I believe to be an amazing person. That is maybe the wrong thing to say as I get this platform and podium, but like, these black boys need to have great black men in their life. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that he has one.
Yes, sir.
Is the story of my life,
Sure.
Like, why do you work every day? I love what I do. Why did I give up that money? I didn't need it. And you're right, you get a plan, you'll get the money back. Like, the material stuff it's meaningless. You'll get it back. But that's my story. That's the really high level part of the story. I don't want to drag it out. But the reason why I do what I do is my son, my community. I feel like I can be an inspiration to not only him, he can be an inspiration to his friends, and it's contagious, and we can all become a better generation, a better group of people for it.
Yeah. Woo!